This is the Boa Constrictor Studios archives. That is simply the umbrella under which I have all of the musical performances and recordings and projects that exist, or the majority of them anyway. And so I'll go over just briefly what is on here, and I'll go over why it's on here. Chances are that I have probably directed you here to listen probably to a particular album if we were talking about it or something like that. And that's kind of the point, that I can just have this here, and if it comes up, I'll say, well, here's the album if you want to listen to it. So that's the whole idea. But what else is on here? You were directed to an album probably, but what else is on here? Well, there's a playlist for, 8 different things. The first playlist would be the Hot Chocolate Minivan Gang, and that would be my high school, well, really junior high and high school friends and our endeavors into how do you write a song and record it. And we spent probably 1987 through 1997 trying to answer that question. The next playlist would be my college and post-college groups, which would include Ear Train, Puafua, Spry, and a little bit of Gold Standard, because I was there at the inception of that. And that would have been, up until about 2004. And then the next playlist would be the Siegfrieds, and that would be my group, quote-unquote group, with my then wife in 2005 and our kids. And that would have been about 2005 through 2012. And then that group morphed into the JEA Combo, which would be the next playlist. And the JEA Combo was my group with my wife, Jill, who was my wife at the time, and Richard Novi. And our rhythm section, who were Dave Towner and Joe Frank, and that went to about 2018. And then Joe Frank and Dave Towner joined, started a group with a guy named Pat Pilla, who had this crazy idea for this musical project that is still going on now as of 2024 when I'm recording this, and that is The Experience. So that's its own playlist. Also, there's a playlist of my solo albums dating back to 1987, believe it or not. So, and then there is the playlist of box sets. And what that is if you can imagine that an album is an iceberg, it's sort of the iceberg theory, right? The tip of the iceberg is the album. But if you want to hear the rest of the iceberg, that's the box set. And this may be of particular interest, I suppose, to songwriters. And the reason is because when you hear the song at the tip of the iceberg, you're hearing the final version of something that started life sometimes completely different and probably much worse than what it ended up as. So I think it is, as a songwriter, it can be interesting to hear the process that another songwriter would go through to end up at whatever the final version is. So that's part of the box sets. There's also rehearsals. There's also, there's all kinds of stuff on the box sets. Whatever was happening at the time that got recorded, along with whatever the Keystone album is, would be on that box set. And finally, of course, there's a playlist just with featured albums. So if you listen to one album and say, well, what else, right? There's probably a featured album from each of these playlists that's sort of like, well, here's kind of the best thing that this group did. So I direct most people to the featured albums. That would probably be a good spot to start. Why have I put all this stuff here? And this is a question that has come up from time to time, since there is so many hours of recording and so many thousands of songs and song pieces. What's the point? And I believe, I studied music in college and English, and been on tour and played around the Twin Cities with various groups and some amazing, incredible musicians. And so I believe at some point when I was in my 30s, I can't quite remember how this came up, but I was over at my folks' house. And what my mom said to me at some point was, we knew if you didn't make it by time you were 25, that you would never make it. And I knew what she meant by that because, because it wasn't the first time I'd heard something like that from her or whoever. But I think the idea of making it to someone who isn't in some sort of creative pursuit, it probably seems from an outside perspective that, especially because our society is the way it is, that somebody is doing something in order to gain money and fame. I think that's what making it means. And very understandably, probably since, from the 50s until maybe 10 years ago, this idea of a rock star, if somebody watched a person playing rock music over a period of time, it could be interpreted, I suppose, as somebody trying really hard to become famous and make a lot of money. So I can see that from an outside perspective, why it looks like that. I also think what that comment meant was there's no reason to continue a pursuit of, in music, in other words, in trying to make it after a certain period of time. There's like an expiration date. And then it just becomes silly, or it just becomes embarrassing if someone continues to try to write and record songs, in my case. So that perspective, of course, has forced me to consider this, and why would I still be, after so many decades, continuing to not only record and write, but then to put it all in a place where I can show other people. Is it that I have that big of an ego that I feel that I must bestow the world with, you know what I mean? But I think of it more like this, and this is from a perspective of someone who's creative. So if you blow glass, if you dance, if you write, if you create sculptures, if you paint, if you draw, if you create clothing, whatever the artistic thing that you do is, it could be viewed, obviously, that you're trying to make a ton of money doing something like that. But chances are you're not. Chances are pretty high that you can't rely on your art, whatever it may be, to live, to have as an income. At least not always. Sometimes you might. Sometimes you can rely on art for a while, but it may not be that you could rely on your own creativity to clothe and feed yourself. And so then obviously the question is, well, why do it? And I think the answer is something like this. If you know somebody who, let's say, who's a grandma, we'll take that as an example, and that grandma has a cookbook and their recipes that were passed down from previous generations, and then this lady has done, over several decades, has sort of perfected her own version of these recipes. It would be ridiculous to say to that grandma something like, you keep making these little food dishes and you're never going to make it. You're never going to open up a gumbo chain, So for some reason, you keep fiddling and changing and working with these little recipes that you have. And at some point, you look ridiculous doing this. You're never going to blow up and become famous for what you're doing. It would be ridiculous to say that to a grandma who has recipes that she shares with her neighbors and her friends and her family and brings to her church and whatever, you name it, right? That would be a ridiculous thing to think or to say, all right? So if you put it in that context, what's the purpose of these creations? Well, it's something that is a very personal thing and something that somebody puts a lot of time and effort and thought, and even you could even say love into. And it's also something that is made not, if we're taking this grandma for an example, she's not making this in a cup and sitting in the dark eating it for herself. It's not about her at all, usually. It would be about sharing it. These are probably big batches of things that can be shared at gatherings. And part of the purpose is the creation of it itself. That can be fun and fulfilling. And the other part is sharing it and seeing what people think, what people say, how they react, and just being able to participate in a given event and or a community. So that's the way that I look at most creative pursuits, particularly the ones that are what you might call pet projects, something that seems interesting to the creator, and it's just a path that somebody's going to follow to see where it leads. I've never really thought of, here's a musical idea. I'm going to see what this ends up being. because I think this is going to make a ton of money. I've never had that little extra thing. It's just like, let's see what this sounds like. And I figured out I can do this, and I can kind of do this with this. And then you have a thing that you're doing. What if you did that and I did this? And what if we put those together, you know? All of a sudden it's like, well, what would that be like? And so to me, it's been this discovery process where I'm just amazed that the people I've worked with and, you know, have written with and played with and toured with, how like almost unbelievable or unfathomable the things that we've kind of come up with have been, you know. I almost feel like I've just sort of fallen into these things and have discovered all this, you know, interesting music, and am just sort of amazed that I was there, basically. And I think, you know, in terms of making it, the way I feel is that we all made it the minute we ended up on this planet and opened our eyes and began looking around and discovering, you know, what is this? And here's what this is like. And here's what this does, you know. And the art, the creative pursuits that we endeavor are just a continuation of that, of having made it here and begun exploring. And I think the more that whatever it is that you do creatively, the more you explore it, the more you learn that there is to explore. And so that to me is, if there has to be any end, if there has to be any making it, it is the exploration. And the times when we look back and say, well, here it is. Here's what happened. Here's what we figured out. And then the sharing of it. The saying, okay, well, check this out. We figured this out and we did it and we put it all together. You know, have a listen, watch this and see what you think, you know. That to me is the purpose of pretty much, you know, any creative person's reason for being on the planet. The money, the fame, all that kind of stuff can be fun at times. You know, no lying about that. It can be fun. You know, to hear your music on the radio, or to see a huge reaction, or play to a big crowd, whatever it is. But that's it's a byproduct, and it's fun to have it happen. But I don't think it takes away or adds to what exists. So in that way, then I think all of the things that I've been involved with, the musical projects and performances and so on, it's something that is worthwhile in itself and is worth sharing. All right, so let's take a look back. We're going to do two things here. We're going to take a look back at what I call live snapshots, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about in action over the course of, I don't know how many years it is, but 89 through 2024. So you see sort of, you know, live performances. And then a fairly short interview with my buddy Ed Carter, who sort of randomly called me and wanted to interview. I don't know if that ever went anywhere, but It's a fairly decent interview and one of the only interviews that I've done. So, but that highlights, my top 5 albums of mine. So that ought to give a pretty good overview between what I just talked about and, live performances and then recordings, albums. So let's get into the live snapshots. I got into songwriting to be funny. That really is the truth. But I don't know if it's ego or what, but I think the next obvious step is to take it on the road,
Get lost, little cowboy. You're chewing on my foot. Get lost, little cowboy. Get lost, little cowboy. Get lost, little cowboy. You're chewing on my foot.
Never really set out to make money with music. I think I can honestly say that.
I don't think there'll ever be a time like our childhood, you know. I mean, before cell phones, and that caused people to have to interact much differently than they do today, much more organically. It was sort of a special time, I think, looking back to have been alive, I guess, at the end of one era and the beginning of another.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next song, we call it many things. We call it Rick.
Why?
It's a nickname for the song. You know, my baby had a model airplane. She liked to play it like a Johnny Coltrane. The river deep and the river wide. She made her hold me on the other side. I hold her tight. Don't lean on side, we are changing. Them little lines we are reaching. That's no shadow of you.
If I could have had a pre-birth wish, it would have been to play with as many different underground, and I mean different, underground bands as possible and still have, valuable experience from doing that.
Black and blue rock, all the smokers out there.
I did study music and played with ensembles and played classically, but really the band, drums, bass, guitar, etc. That was always sort of the thing I really enjoyed. Real visceral. It's just you. It's just you guys out there. No, voice enhancing shit. It's just all natural, and something about that just really appealed to me.
When I think of all the times I tried so hard to leave her, she would turn to me and start to cry. And she promises the earth to me and I believe her. After all this time I don't know why. Oh girl, she's the kind of girl who puts you down when friends are there. You feel a fool. You say she's looking good, she acts as if it's understood. She's cool. Steve Olson on the keys. Oh, Stevie. Was she told when she was young that pain would lead to pleasure? Did she understand it when they said that a man must break his back to earn his day of leisure? Will she still believe it when she's dead? Oh girl, Thank you.
Well, we never really stopped doing music. I got out of playing in bands and stuff, and basically, my wife and kids became my band. But we made albums. We made little, basically audio postcards to send to our relatives and stuff at Christmas or whatever. And at some point, then we started to play backyard parties, and eventually made it out to onto this. We just played on the street in Minneapolis.
And married in a Beamer, out of bed with peppers and fry. We've been talking about Jackson ever since the fire went out. I'm going to Jackson, gonna mess you around. Yeah, I'm going to Jackson, about Jackson town. I'm gonna snow and fall, Jack. When night breeze into that city, people gonna sleep and bow. All them women gonna make me keep doing what they don't know how. I'm going to Jackson. My clothes. Yeah, I'm going to Jackson. Hotter than a pepper spry. We've been talking about Jackson ever since the fire went out. I'm going to Jackson. Jackson back. Yeah, I'm going to Jackson. Ain't never coming back. We'll come married in a fever.
I knew I had married someone who appreciated music and who could sing well. But what I didn't realize was I got married to a whole family of people who sang and played guitar and were into singing harmonies, and coolest damn thing I ever stumbled on, accidentally.
We did Peaceful Ways of Feeling earlier. I don't know.
Oh, that's different song.
I know,
Okay,
but
you
it's the same
guys,
kind of thing.
you guys want to do this one?
That doesn't sound like you're excited.
No, we're cussing.
Just a
How to
minute.
sing a
You know
song.
the problem I had with that one? I was playing with the green pit.
We only have so many little ones.
You were on the road. No? I'm gonna start.
Take the Almost Heaven.
Which one were we doing?
Oh, I thought we were doing Teach Your Children.
We could try that one, but this is the one. This is one that's supposed to take it home for us.
Almost.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is older than the dream, younger than the mountains, golden light.
country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road, up country road, down country road, I'll take you home, down country road.
We lost our whole awesome ending. What happened?
See? That's a one clap or a two clap. It could be in the top 10. You know what I mean? It could be in the
Dinner
top 10.
music.
You never know.
Dinner show.
Well, I found over time, that I missed music. I missed Minneapolis. We were way out in the outskirts of the suburbs. I missed, just missed playing live. So our kids had gotten to the age where the older kids could watch the younger kids for a night, And so that, among other things, other factors, but that really did logistically allow us to go out and start trying. And at first Jill didn't know if she was into it because she hadn't been in, on stage like we were going to do. So we just kind of started off and kind of hoped that she would eventually get the bug,
attention. My 5 or 6 years ago, yes I did. I came home with intention. My 5 or does it go? Alright. When my old town always tell me I just don't feel like I'm here no more. Like a stranger in my own town. Like a stranger in my own town. My own town won't accept me. Oh, it's scared me to put me down.
It's given me a chance to write, and I'm a lyricist who had to learn to be a musician in order to write lyrics. So it's given me a chance to really stretch out and write, and arrange, try to come up with some interesting arrangements.
It's hot up here, kind of like summertime.
buddy Dave Towner had a dream. He told me he had a dream that I was a black, like velvety butterfly. And once he realized it was me, then all of a sudden he got really worried that I was going to fly away and he was going to lose me.
Here's a new one. Gummies on trees, never to be. Gummies on trees, see 'em like a leaf. Gummies on trees, see 'em like a leaf. Gummies on trees, see 'em like a leaf. I can't get the way. Go story, go story.
The way I look at it is that I have been so lucky to work and play with the musicians and songwriters and composers that I have. One of my friends, he's not with us anymore, but his name was Steve Morse. He felt like the music industry, you know, the what music had become, seemed like all of a sudden it was out of reach for normal people. And the fact is that anyone who wants to should play music. and play it together. That's been the, you know, I've written on my own, I've recorded on my own, but when you get together with a group and have that experience, that visceral experience in the moment, it's been life-saving for me. It's been really my only constant.
This next song's called Sugarplum. Go! Stop the beat.
Ed?
JJ,
Ed, are you there?
what is up?
What's up, man? How's it going?
How's it?
It is. How you doing, man?
Oh, it's good to hear your voice, man.
Yeah, good to hear you.
Voice.
Yeah, good to hear you. How you doing?
So, you're recording on your end.
I am. I'm recording. You told me I could do that.
Okay.
That's what you said.
Yeah, you do with it whatever you want with it. You do
Okay.
whatever you want.
Cool.
And then I'll put mine out. I'm doing a series. Over here.
Okay. Yeah, you do whatever you want with yours.
So when it comes out, I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't know.
Okay. All good, man.
You can put your end of it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
make
you.
It look good though.
You all, yeah, of course you will.
So as you know, I'm in Ireland. I'm
Yeah.
looking for just some artists that don't get a lot of limelight, but have certainly gotten a lot of life experience.
You want old people.
So what I'm doing is the top 5.
Sure.
Either songs or albums. In your case, albums. I
Albums.
assume.
Yeah, albums, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Because you have what? 20, 30? 30 albums?
I don't know. More than that. I don't know. A lot.
Okay, well,
A lot.
you've been doing it. I know you've been doing it since
Since I was a baby.
Yeah.
A baby, I tells you.
So let's count down. Let's start from the bottom.
All right.
Count up.
Bottom of the barrel. Count up. Okay.
So what's your number 5 basically? What would be your number 5 album? Oh, hold on. Let's back up. Let's start this off, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll get into it. Okay, JJ Augustine. This is JJ Augustine here. He's an underground. Is it fair to say underground? Musician, artist, writer.
Underground.
And these are the people that I love the most. That I would like to showcase. So here's top 5.
Cool.
Of JJ. Okay.
Sweet.
And number 5. JJ, what's your number 5 album that you've done of all your albums?
I would have to say Gloved Rabbit from 92.
Yeah, have I heard that one?
Probably.
Yeah.
92.
What is it about that one?
Well, the Farfisa. I love the Farfisa sound on that album. But the entire album, that was the first time I really had made it.
This is an early.
Yeah, 92.
92. Okay, so that's early.
And that was the first time.
When did you start writing?
Like 87.
Okay, so you've been at it a little while.
Yeah, I had been up until that point.
Yeah, and then you got you.
But this was the first really good album I thought that I had done.
So the songs.
The songs, not this. You can still tell I'm trying to find it with the singing and stuff, but it's sort of one of those things where I went, oh,
I go back and re-listen to that.
Yeah,
I vaguely remember.
yeah. It was just kind of the first time I went, oh,
Yeah.
I did it. I made an album.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first. That was the beginning.
All right.
Gloved Rabbit.
What's your number 4? Let's go to number 4.
I'm gonna say Need the Love.
Need the Love. I don't
2016.
remember that one either.
Well, it used to be called Wop Wop
I do
Wahoo.
remember that.
Yeah. And 20 years later, I went back and took those songs and put them all together, fixed them up,
Yeah.
and put it out. Really,
That's a long time.
yeah.
Working on it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the only one like that of all my albums. But yeah, it's
And so, how long was the band?
well, it's only about a year's worth. Yeah, it's only a year's worth.
All right.
But
so
you know-
we got- so it's about a year's worth.
Yeah.
Of writing.
But that has some really cool guests on it. Jennifer Grimm is on it. David Olson, Peter Rasmussen,
All the old.
all the old stars. Yeah,
players.
yeah, the players. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just got a lot of good.
Is that all right?
That is. Yeah, you could listen
All
to
right,
it.
I gotta go listen to that. I
Yeah,
like Wahoo. I liked it.
but it was never finished.
But if you're saying that you polished it all,
Yeah, I made it good.
together, I liked it.
As good as it's gonna be, So,
All right, so that's number 4.
yep.
What would be your number 3?
Boosh, Puafua,
Yes.
Boosh. Yeah,
Now that one I know.
I know you know.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
All right,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yes. I love the drumming on that album.
Casey
First of all,
Kaseimer. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
yeah. All those guys are great. Dylan, Jake, Aaron, Eric, Stevie. We even had Scooter on there for one song.
The songwriting, everything on that album.
Yeah, yeah. Mostly Dylan and me doing the songwriting. And a pretty well recorded, in a real studio kind of thing. So that was kind of
That's a great album.
Yeah.
It was just a great album.
that was the culmination of Puafua,
And
really.
it was a roots kind of thing. You guys,
Sure.
that was true labor of love.
Yeah, we played our gigs
That was,
to pay for the sessions.
That was quite a collection of characters and
It was.
musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was great.
It was like the Muppet Band. Yeah. So that was Boosh.
All right, well that's amazing. All right. Well, what would you say your number 2? What's number 2 for you?
I'd say Summer in the City from 06.
Okay, what's that?
That's my wife at the time and my kids. We recorded.
I got a copy of that.
Yes, you do.
I have a copy of
Yeah, you do. Yeah, we were. Go ahead.
That's right.
We were.
Yeah, it's a whole story.
Yeah, we did a comic book along with it that the kids
That's
covered.
interesting the way that
Yeah.
kind of happened.
Yeah, well, we did a Christmas one, and then we decided we were going to do summer. And by that time, we'd kind of cut our teeth on the Christmas one. And by the time we hit that summer one, we were,
See, that's fantastic.
yeah, we were cooking. So we had Greg Ryerson master it, and mostly covers.
I have to listen to that again.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly covers. Some of my own stuff. Yeah, the kids were great on it. That was hard to record, the kids, unfortunately.
Really like that.
Yeah. Me too. That'd be my number 2.
All right, so that's Summer in the City.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. Ready?
All right, before we get to number 1,
Okay.
let's give you a chance to go to honorable mention.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that you love that's honorable mention doesn't quite make the list.
Sure. Swap Meet.
Yes.
Gold standard. Yeah, Swap Meet.
Oh, I love that album.
Yeah, it's a good album. It's well recorded. I'm not actually on that
What was
album.
your role?
Yeah, I'm not on the album. But my writing is all over it. Horn parts, lyrics.
I did not know that.
Yeah, lyrics, melody.
No idea.
I'm all over that. Yeah. So, but I never got to be on the album. I had to do my masters. Had to stop touring to work on my masters.
That is true honorable.
Yeah. Gold standard. Swap Meet. Yep.
And then give us your number 1.
The Experience by The Experience, my last album.
It always is. It's always the last thing you've done.
Yep.
Yeah.
The last one we put out. Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Has to be that way.
Is that out?
It is out. Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to give it a spin.
Please do.
I'm going to spin it.
Well, we'll make 3 cents off of your spin, so thank you. It's a punk rock, raw, live.
More than that.
Yeah,
More.
we do. It's a live EP, and it's just a wild, crazy show. And
I did not expect that.
no,
That's something I would not have expected, but I did expect it to be whatever you had worked on last. Because everybody says, every artist
well, it's
says,
got to be that
the
way.
last thing I've done is probably the best thing. And
You
that's
have to think that way. Yeah, you have to think that way. Otherwise, what are you doing? So,
very cool. All right, thank you, JJ.
yeah, you bet. Hope it helps.
It'll come out in written form,
Okay.
and
And written.
then at some point I'll use this as either audio or I'll figure out a way to do a video version.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so this is JJ Augustine.
Thanks, man.
Great to talk to you, my friend.
Good to talk to
Great
you, eh?
talk to you. And I gotta put a couple of those records on.
Absolutely. I'll give you the
And
links.
have another listen.
Yeah, I'll give you the
I
links.
remember all but one.
Need the love.
All but one Well, no, I remember Need the Love too, but I don't
Right.
remember it as Need the Love.
Right.
So you're saying that's out there too.
It
All right.
absolutely
I
is.
remember all of them.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man.
All right, I appreciate it.
Good talking to you.
Appreciate the time.
You too. Have a good night.
JJ.
Thank you.